Hey guys, this is Pete, and I'm doing Pete's Eats videos. And they're all about easy recipes that are simple, delicious, and absolutely affordable. Today we're going to be making a pie crust, and this is going to be a base recipe that we're going to come back to and use for making meat pies, tarts, quiches, and sweet pies as well. So this is really important. There are a lot of people that are afraid of making pie crust. There's no reason for that. It's so simple, as you'll see. So let's begin. Okay, so all of the ingredients, just to let you know, are going to be in the bottom bar below and with quantity. So you don't have to worry about writing that down right now. You really just have to focus on what I'm doing, okay? What I have is I have 1 cup of flour in my bowl, and I'm going to put a 2nd cup of flour into that. This is enough to make 1 covered pie, okay? So it's your basic 1 covered pie recipe, okay? So here's 1 cup of flour, and I'm putting the 2nd cup of flour in there. To that, I'm gonna add a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, some lard, and some butter, and some water, and that's it. It's really easy. Okay, so I have 2 cups of flour in the bowl, and what I'm gonna do is add about a teaspoon of salt. So that's about a teaspoon of salt. Maybe it's a little bit more. I like salt. If you don't like salt, you don't have to put as much in, but around a teaspoon. I also put a tiny bit of sugar. I'm just gonna drop a little bit of sugar in there, and the reason for that is really not for taste, just to make sure it browns up nicely, okay? Now after you have those are all the dry ingredients, so I'm gonna stir that up just to mix it up a little bit. You don't have to go too crazy here. And that's it. So I've got them all stirred up. The ingredients are all stirred. Now to these dry ingredients, I now have to add about a 1/4 cup of butter, half butter, and half lard or vegetable shortening. So either a half cup of butter plus either a half cup of lard or vegetable shortening, okay? And there's a little bit of a trick here, so I'm gonna go ahead and add that, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of vegetable shortening or lard. Sorry, half cup. That's 1/2 cup of vegetable shortening or lard, and also a half cup of butter. So I'm adding those right in there. The best thing to do is to break up the butter with your fingers. There's no better way. I know you can buy a myriad of butter cutters and knives and everything else, but the best way is just make sure your hands are clean and go for it. And break up this butter into little chunks, maybe about the size of peas, and just keep going for it. There's no problem doing that. And also make sure that the butter, when you put it in originally, is cold. It can't be soft butter. The lard is going to be soft for sure. But the butter we're just going to break up into little chunks, and so that we get these sort of pea-sized pieces. This is really about what pea-sized chunks look like. So now we're going to put the water in, and this is the critical step, okay? You really don't want to put too much water in. So it's about a 1/4 cup for this recipe, but no one can really tell you how much you need because, you know, depending on the humidity, how much lard you put in, how much moisture was in the flour to begin with, it all makes a difference. So about a 1/4 cup, I'm guessing a little bit more, in some places maybe a little bit less, okay? And I like to use a wooden spoon that I devote only to flour mixtures, okay? So I'm gonna put it in now. I'm gonna put the water in, and I wanna put just enough water so that the mixture comes together. Just comes together. So I'm going to be a little bit shy with my water. I'm going to give it a mix, and I'm going to see. I don't want it sopping wet. I want it to just come together. And so here we go. That's still a bit dry. A little bit more in. Now it's starting to come together for sure. I can feel it coming together. A little bit more, and I think I'll be good with this. it's really starting to act as one lump now, and that's exactly what I want without it being too wet. I'm going to put the dough that's just come together just perfectly, I'm going to put it in the bag and we'll put it in the fridge for about a half hour to rest. It's perfect timing to get your ingredients for the center ready. It's been about a half hour now, so I want to roll out the dough, and you can see it's really rested nicely and it's ready to go. So this was for one covered pie, so I'm going to take a little bit more, just a touch more than half, and I'm going to roll it out. See how that piece broke off? That's really great. So all I want to do, I do it right on the counter. I got no problem. I clean the counter nicely. You can get a stone if you want. You can, get all kinds of fancy things to roll it out on. But here we go. So here's the dough. I'm going to just form it into a disc with my hands, and then I'm ready to start rolling. Okay. So I'm going to roll this out, and make sure, be generous with the flour. Just one more note I want to make. If you have dough that you've had in the fridge for a couple of days, like this one, or a week, it gets really quite hard, okay? This is an old piece of dough that I made earlier in the week. You need to let that sort of warm up a bit before you start rolling it, or you'll be fighting yourself, okay? So there you go. So I'm going to work on this one right now. I've got a bit of flour on both sides now, so I'm going to just roll it out to the desired thickness. And of course it depends on how thick you like your pie crusts. If you like them thick, if you like them thin, just like a pizza dough, the same kind of thing, right? So remember, make it to your own liking, or for whoever you're making the pie for. So here I'm going to roll it out. And what I want to do also is I want to check to see how that's coming along. I like using a Pyrex, actually I think it's a flan bowl, but you can use whatever you want. And here we go, it's a little bit thick for me. I want to roll it out a little bit more. As long as it doesn't stick, I'm laughing, okay? And I won't worry about little cracks and things. They don't bother me too much, because I know I can fix them once I put it in the pie pan. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip it over on itself. It's sticking a bit there, but not too bad. And then I'm going to flip it again. And now what I'm doing is I'm going to transfer it over into the pie form. So there we go. Now I'm going to roll it back once. I'm not panicking. You see it's cracking here a bit. Doesn't really matter. Don't worry about it. I'm going to roll it back again. And now I'm going to put it in nicely into the pie form all the way around. That's really starting to come along quite nicely. I'm just going to fold this crust over. A bit of extra crust is fine. It's more than enough, more than enough. Almost done. Fold that over. Lots of crust, no problem. Almost too much there. And there you go. We're pretty well ready for our filling. So there it is. The pie crust is now ready. We'll put it in the fridge for about 20 minutes to sort of firm up before we fill it. And we're ready to put a delicious filling into this. So there you go, there's our pie crust. It's simple, it's delicious, and it's really affordable.